You'll need a blanket and 2 blocks for this sequence. A towel or even a small pillow will work as well, something that you'll be able to pad your knees with in a little bit. If you don't have blocks, grab 2 water bottles, like firm water bottles, or even 2 soup cans will work. So just make sure you have what you need so that you'll be supported as we go. Then lie down on your back, knees bent, feet on the floor. Let's take a deep breath in, a slow breath out. A deep inhale, complete exhale. And continue to deepen your breathing. Keep that going. Bring your right knee into your chest. Rock it side to side a couple of times. Noticing how your hamstring, your hip, your glute is feeling today. And then eventually come to stillness. Straighten the leg toward the ceiling. Interlace your fingers around your right hamstring and just let the knee be bent a lot. So your arms are straight, relax your shoulders down. From here, inhale, bend, inhale, point your right foot. Exhale, flex. Inhale, point. Exhale, flex. A few more like this, moving with your breathing. So we start to lengthen the entire back of the leg. That hamstring might be talking to you a lot already. If this feels really tough, bend your right knee a little bit more. Adding on, point, flex, little pull. Inhale, point. Exhale, flex, and pull in. A few more of those. Pointing, flexing, pulling. So that pull is pretty small. You're just slowly easing a little deeper into the hamstring. Point, flex, pull. One more. Breathing deeply. Flex, pull, and stay. Walk your hands as far up the leg as you can. Really pulling your right toes toward your face. Take 3 deep breaths here. If your leg is shaking a lot, bend the knee a bit more. Your head and your shoulders should be really relaxed down into the floor as well. If that's not the case, you'll need to back off. One more breath. And then bend the knee. Set your foot down. Take a deep breath. Feeling both sides, feel that energy moving through your right thigh, right hamstring, really the whole right leg. And the left knee into your chest. Rock it side to side a couple of times. Eventually, leg toward the ceiling, interlacing your fingers around the hamstring so that your arms are straight, your shoulders can rest down. Inhale, point. Exhale, flex. Inhale, point. Exhale, flex. A few more like that. If your leg is shaking a lot, let's bend that left knee a bit more. Just drawing the circulation through the entire left leg. Adding on, inhale, point. Exhale, flex, and pull. It's small. Inhale, point. Exhale, flex, and pull. Just a few more of those. So make that pull really small. Really small. Just easing in there, taking your time so that the muscles won't fight you back as you go. Going slow is really the key here. One more. Flex and stay. Really push up through the heel. Walk your hands up the leg a bit more, relaxing the shoulders down. So pushing through the heel, pulling your toes toward your face. Deep breath in. Exhale. One more big breath. And then bend the knee, bring it back into your chest. Set the foot down, feeling both sides. Then straighten your legs. Reach your arms all the way overhead. Interlace your fingers, press back through the heels of your palms. Flex your feet, press forward through the heels. Notice you'll feel that in the backs of your legs a little bit more. Try to pull your front ribs together as you do that. And then point your feet, point your toes. Notice how the stretch changes just a little. And hug your knees into your chest. Rock side to side a few times. And then roll all the way onto one side and press yourself up to sit. So we'll come onto all fours. So now would be the time to have your blocks or your water bottles, whatever you've got nearby, and let's pad our knees. So in the center of your mat, come onto all fours with your blanket underneath your knees. From here, inhale, lift your hips, lift your chest, look up. Exhale, round your spine, drop your head. Inhale, drop the belly, lift the hips, lift the chest. Exhale, round your spine. Hands totally flat. Inhale, arch. Exhale, round. Once more each direction. And then come to a more neutral place. Straighten your right leg long behind you. Tuck your toes under on the mat. Rock your weight forward and back a couple of times. So the leg is long, feeling all the way down the back of the leg, hamstring, calf, Achilles, even the foot. Try to keep lifting your belly while you're doing this so your spine is supported. And then we'll come to stillness and step your right foot all the way up between your hands. At this point, it would be nice to pick up your back knee, pull it back a little bit more, set it down. So we're in a low lunge. Put your right hand onto your right foot and straighten the leg as much as you can. So this would be a nice time to potentially have your block underneath your left hand. Breathing deeply here. So you're really using your right hand to push the top of your right foot down and trying to keep your spine as long as possible. Now see if you can take your right hip away from your right shoulder, even like a millimeter. So it'll feel a little bit as if you're side bending, but really you're just bringing yourself back to neutral. You're leveling your waist rather than letting your right hip creep toward your right shoulder. So right foot down. Notice where you feel the stretch. Really pressing down through the ball of your right foot. Deep breath in, long spine. Slow breath out. One more deep breath. And then we'll release the right hand. Flex your right foot now, at which point you'll want to squeak it forward just a little bit more. So scoot that right heel forward on your mat. You might want to grab your other block to put underneath your right hand. So we've got blocks on both hands. Pulling your right toes toward your face. It's the same thing we just did, except our foot is flexed this time. Long spine. So it's nice to have something under your hands so that you're not rounding and kind of straining to reach the floor. Instead, you can keep your spine longer and really focus on pulling your toes toward your face. Take your right hip back and down so your right hip is moving away from your right shoulder. Breathing deeply. So stay just as you are. I'm going to turn and face you so that it's easier to see where we're heading next. So you're staying there, focusing on that right hamstring still. And if you are using blocks, keep in mind, you can really turn them up to any height you want. You can bring yourself up as high as you need to, which I highly recommend. All right, so you've still got the right toes coming toward your face. Everything stays the same, but now as you inhale, take the right thigh out toward the right. Exhale, steer it in toward the left. Inhale, open. Exhale, close. A few more like this. So nothing else in your body should be moving here. Just the thigh bone turning in the hip. And you'll feel it changes the stretch a lot depending on the orientation of the leg. Continuing to breathe deeply. Making sure you've got a little bend through your right knee. You can really feel the the natural stopping point, in theory, we should be able to turn the same amount in both directions. So if you're noticing that one direction is a lot tougher for you, it's a good sign. That would be a good direction for you to practice a bit more. Let's go once more each side. Coming to center, and then we'll bend the knee, come back down into your lunge, lifting your chest. Bring your blocks forward with you. Inhale here. Exhale, stretch it back, flex the foot. Inhale forward, tracking the knee over the ankle, lift the chest. Exhale, take it back. So we'll do a few more like this. You can also lose your blocks, and you'd sort of walk your hands forward and back as you go. Breathing deeply, creating that nice fluidity through your hamstrings, the same fluidity that you want when you run, when you walk even, when you do anything. We want our hamstrings to be like rubber bands, very pliable, very elastic, rather than like guitar strings. Okay, let's do one more like this. Meeting back in your lunge. And now take your right leg out to the right like a kickstand. You'll put your hands onto your hips and come upright. Let me get these out of the way. All right, so upright. Now rotate your right thigh so that you can bend your right knee and your right toes point out to the right and the knee is over the ankle. You'll need to scoot the foot a little bit further away from you. All right, bend the knee. Look at the knee, see that it's over the ankle. Just kind of see how much range you have to work with here. Straighten it. Bend the knee. Straighten the leg. A few more like this. Really focusing on tracking the knee properly, tracking the knee over the ankle rather than letting it flop in. So even here, obviously this is a different range of motion than running, but even this gives us the opportunity to practice really good knee tracking, really strong foundation through the foot, nice fluid hamstrings. Let's do two more like this. And then straighten the leg. Turn the foot forward now so that the foot lines up with this knee. And come on down to your hands. Hands under your chest. Inhale, drop the belly. Lift your hips, lift your chest. Exhale, round your spine. Inhale, arch. Exhale, round. Inhale, arch and stay. And lower down to your forearms. Drop your head. Taking a couple deep breaths here. So we go back and forth between poses that are a bit more active, a bit more dynamic, and then poses that are static. They're still slightly more passive, but we're still looking for that nice long spine, that action of really pushing down through the foot, easing any tension through the neck, the shoulders. It's really this combination of active and passive stretching that helps the muscles. It really encourages them to be more pliable, more elastic. Three more deep breaths. And then make your way back up to your hands. Bring the right knee under your hip. Wag your tail a few times. Coming to center, just pausing and feeling. And we'll do the second side. So, knees are still padded. The left leg goes long behind you. Toes tuck under, foot on your mat, rock it forward and back a couple times. Lift your belly, lift your ribs together so that you're not just like banana backing while you're doing that. especially if you're using this to pre-game your workout. Really thinking about connecting through your core. And eventually, we'll step the left foot between your hands. Pick up the right knee, pull it back a bit more, set it down, and then straighten the left leg as best you can. Just remember, this is a nice place to grab your block and put it underneath your other hand. Your right hand can be as high as you need it too. You might even be up here, that's fine. Meanwhile, the left hand is really helping your left foot to stay anchored into your mat. So think the ball of the foot, especially the big toe ball of your left foot. And think about taking your left hip away from the left shoulder. I'm showing that right now. So pulling your left hip back away from the left shoulder. Lengthen the spine forward. Breathe deeply. Noticing where you feel the stretch happening, being very specific. One more breath like this. And then we'll release the foot, flex it, scoot it forward more. Grab your other prop and pull your left toes toward your face. So you'll find that the props are really nice because it helps you to keep your spine longer. Otherwise, it's easy to end up kind of like flopping forward or trying to reach the floor, and that's just not as effective, not as good of a stretch, not as functional. Okay, so stay there, stay where you are, continuing to ease deeper into that left hamstring. Really pulling your toes toward the face. Can you take your left hip back and down, left hip away from the left shoulder, so you're leveling your waist, nice long neutral spine. Here we go. Inhale, turn it out toward your left. Exhale, steer it in toward the right. Inhale, open. Exhale, close. A few more like this. Steering from your hip. So your knee and your foot, your ankle are just along for the ride. So all the action is the top of the thigh bone turning in your hip. You might notice that the range of motion in this leg is a lot different than the other side was. Again, these are really important things to pay attention to because it gives you really valuable information in terms of what's your homework, what do you need to spend just a little bit more time on. Once more each direction. Coming to center. Flexing the foot, inhale, long spine, and exhale, bend the knee, come forward. Inhale, stretch it back, flexing the foot. Exhale, bend the knee, lift the chest. Inhale, stretch back, long spine. Exhale, bend the knee. Keep that going. You can lose your blocks if you want, if you don't need them to reach the floor. Finding that nice fluidity through the hamstrings. And really keep an eye on your knee tracking. This is a really nice chance to practice that. Landing evenly on your foot, tracking the knee over the ankle. 2 more like this. Meeting in our lunge. Take the left leg out to the side like a kickstand now, and we'll come on up, hands to your hips. So rotate your left thigh out so that the left toes point out to the left, and then bend the knee. So take the foot as far away from you as you need to so that the knee won't travel past your ankle. Then inhale, straighten, exhale, bend. Inhale, straighten, exhale, bend. And a few more like that. Just working A little deeper into the hamstring. Make sure the knee isn't collapsing in. Breathing deeply. Two more. Good. And then straighten the leg. We'll turn the foot forward and lower down to your hands. Hands underneath your chest, left foot is flat. Inhale, drop the belly, lift the hips, lift the chest. Exhale, round your spine. Inhale, arch. Exhale, round. Inhale, arch and stay. And exhale down to your forearms. Drop your head. Breathing deeply here. Push down through the outside edge of your left foot. Still got that nice long spine. Looking for a bit more sensation, a bit more stretch through the inseam of the left leg. Two more deep breaths. And then make your way back up to your hands. Come back to all fours. It's pausing. Take it side to side a few times. Just kind of feeling both sides. And let's get our blanket out of the way now. You might want to keep a block nearby, just in case. Otherwise, we're going to tuck our toes under and make our way back into a squat. So let's see if we can get our heels on the floor or really close to the floor. And if that feels tough, you might need to come up higher like so, or even like so, especially if your knees are feeling uncomfortable. So pick what lunge works for you that enables you to get your heels down, your weight back. If you can comfortably get all the way down there, join your palms. Thinking about taking the thighs apart, lengthening your spine, lifting your ribs away from your hips. Super effective for getting into both our hips and our hamstrings. And then lower your hands, pivot on your heels, turn your feet parallel, fold down, bend your knees quite a lot here. Feel free to grab your block to rest your hands on. Dropping your head. Now bend the knees a little more, straighten the legs a little bit. Inhale, bend. Exhale, stretch. Keep it going. A few more here. So anytime you're going to do some forward folding to try to stretch your hamstrings, I highly recommend doing a bit of this first before you come to stillness, because it really helps to bring the circulation, the blood flow into the muscles that we want to be stretching. Really helps your brain to kind of find the right spot too. For 3, for 2, one more, and fold down. If you're feeling it in the backs of your knees, bend your knees a little bit more. And then we'll put the forward fold and the squat together. So pivot on your heels, toes out, heels in, bend your knees, come down to a squat. Try to keep those heels down, then straighten the legs, turn the feet parallel, fold down. Turn it out, come back down to your squat, and straighten the legs, feet parallel, fold down. A few more like this. Moving with your breathing, so you're really warming up the hips and the hamstrings. Much more dynamic stretch. This is a great addition to your warm-up arsenal. Breathing deeply, really try to slow down your breath. Let's do 2 more. meeting in your forward fold. Take the feet just a little further apart. Grab a hold of opposite elbows. Take a little sway side to side with your torso, bending one knee at a time. So as you lean to one side, bend the knee a little bit, and then change directions, if you like that. Noticing how that changes the stretch, the sensation. Really trying to move things around a bit here. Come to stillness, drop your arms. Bend those knees a little more, put your hands onto your thighs and press yourself up to stand with a nice long spine. Step your feet further apart now. So let's internally rotate the thighs this time. So grab your thighs and turn them in. Tell them what direction you want them to be going in. So it's almost a little bit of a pigeon-toed setup. Knees are still bent, spine still long. Come back down. Hands onto the floor or your block. Drop your head. Bend the knees a little bit. Straighten the legs a little bit. Little bend, little stretch. Find the rhythm of your breathing. So we're doing a little bend and stretch with internal rotation now. And eventually come to stillness. Folding forward, feet wide apart, slight internal rotation. So this is another great way to ease into your hamstring stretching that's not quite as aggressive as a number of other hamstring stretches and even forward folds. Adding a little bit of internal rotation, that's turning your thighs in, this sort of pigeon-toed setup, just gives your hamstrings a little bit more maneuvering space in a way. So I really recommend starting with that setup, especially if you're feeling a bit stiff. One more deep breath. And then pivot on your heels. Turn your feet parallel. It's a subtle difference. Fold down. And notice how it feels just a little bit different with the feet, the thighs more parallel. So stay down there. Rock your weight forward toward the balls of your feet, and then lean your weight back into your heels. Rock forward, lean back. A few more like that. Notice how the stretch changes depending on where your weight is. Eventually find the center, stopping there, folding down. Two more deep breaths. And then lengthen halfway up. So this time, bend your left knee and walk your hands over to the left. We'll keep our feet parallel for now. Inhale back to center. Exhale, walk it over to the right. Inhale, center. Exhale, switch. So let's take it side to side a few more times. Keep your weight back toward your heels. So there's no stress on our knees. Adding on. So take it over to your right. And this time, flex your left foot, toes toward the ceiling. Come through center, switching sides. So you're externally rotating your right thigh, turning the toes toward the ceiling. So do that a few more times. Moving it around. See if you can kind of smooth it out a little bit more. Working into the hips and the hamstrings. Remember the weight is back in your heels. Once more each side. Finding center, feet parallel. Fold down. One more deep breath. Lift halfway up. Hands onto your hips. Come on up. Step your feet back together. Give them a little shake. Onward. Namaste.